I was at the inaugural school OCC back in 65, 66. And I was goofing around and dropping classes, and so I wouldn't, just so I wouldn't fail them. But that put me into a draftable situation. So September of '66, I was drafted, and down in Fort Wayne. Actually started up at Royal Oak, took a bus, and so from Fort Wayne I went to Kentucky, Fort Knox, and I made basic training there, and also my advanced training, which was a radio operator. I guess because I, at the time, could learn Morse code. Not anybody knows what that is anymore. But so I got assigned to Fort Bliss, Texas. There was an engineering group that had been packed up and all taken off to Vietnam, and they were reforming this group, this engineering group. And we had 9 of us radio operators that went down there. And so we had 4 of us that would play pinochle and, and make sure there was no dust in the room and whatnot, and go sunbathing outside in the heat and whatnot. Well, one of my pinochle buddies said, "I'm getting bored," and he says, "I'm going to volunteer." He says, "No, don't volunteer." So he volunteers, and somebody says, "Look, there's 9 radio operators here." So we all got pulled. So I got home for a month, and before I went over there. So July of '67, I went over to Saigon for a week, and then up to Pleiku, which is the 2 corps. Vietnam is divided in 4 corps. And some of my friends went up in the 1st Corps in Kontum and stuff, but so I got assigned to a Military Assistance Command Vietnam, MACV. And it was an advisory group that was set up by President Eisenhower in the late 50s to send advisors over to help the Vietnamese army fight the Viet Cong. And so in that position, I would go with typically an officer, lieutenant or captain, and we would go with a Vietnamese army company. We would go on missions, and they'd be 1 or 2 day missions. And one of the missions was kind of a scary one. We were on these, I don't know what else to call them other than a track. They had a machine gun turret on top, a big steel enclosure and whatnot, but they would carry like 12 people in them. And they had big double back doors, and they would, so that's how we'd get in and out, or there was a hatch on the top. So we would go in and check out this village, and everything's okay, and we did the cardinal rule. We came back the path we went in on. And so there were 3 rockets that hit the 1st track. I was in the 3rd track. And so we just, strafed the whole neighborhood of machine gun fire, and that was probably one of the scariest times. But after that, back to my job in the Pleiku headquarters, because I would operate the radio there. We had 4 subsectors, and those subsectors would be doing the same type of thing. So we'd be on the radio all night, or 24 hours. So we had 3 of us that would rotate that. I was also there for the Tet Offensive, which was in January of '68, or February, I don't know. Anyway, that's when the Viet Cong hit all the headquarters, like the county seats, more or less, at the same night, at the same time. And so where I was a couple of blocks away from the actual headquarters. I was living in a house. And so we just, manned our stations, and kind of waited because nothing was actually directing right to where we were. So, you know, it was a tense night. So then we settled down after that. A friend of mine from Detroit was the company clerk, so to speak, and he was going home, and they found out I could type. And so I says, well, you know, so Ron Petrowski went home, and I started, you know, doing the reports, and I became the courier too. So I would daily. So I had my own Jeep, and I had a 30 carbine, but I also carried 45, and I'd go and meet the plane at the Air Force Base and pick up any distribution mail that was coming in from wherever. And if I had any reports that I had typed up, those would be going out. Also, I'd pick up our nightly film, and sometimes, well, Ron showed me where the bar was, so I learned what a Black Russian was. The third one, I dropped it, and he says, we're going. We're out of here. So, anyway, so yeah, I did some typing. We had a good mess sergeant. He was a scrounger, and we had our own whiskey permit or whatever, alcohol permit, and so he would take a case of whiskey. He'd go over to the 1st Division and talk to the mess sergeants over there, and he'd swap, you know, a case of liquor for a case of steaks or lobster tail or something like that, you know, because he had a way. So every month we had a hello and goodbye to people coming and going, and we'd have a little bit of a ceremony kind of thing. But also it seemed like every Sunday we'd be cooking steaks out on the grill, which is pretty nice. One time I had to type a report after one too many. And I was the only one back at the headquarters, you know, other than a few guards that were around the perimeter and that. And it's that blue stuff is like a mimeograph machine stuff. So they give you this blue touch-up if you make a mistake. I think I almost emptied a bottle trying to, but I got it finally. And then it had to go the next morning to the colonel so he could read it and make copies and sign it and ship it off to headquarters or, you know, DC or wherever it was going. So I had a pretty good tour considering what a lot of other people had gone through that I talked to with over the years. You know, especially when I talk about having steaks every week, you know, and stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure that goes over well.
Yeah, well, I don't always brag about that, but you know, I 68. I don't know if anybody remembers, but it was a leap year, so I didn't get to go home early. I had to stay an extra day. But because I was drafted, it was a 2-year hitch, and I had less than 90 days, so they won't reassign you if you have less than 90 days. So I got out about 2 months early, so that was cool. And as you mentioned, you know, we weren't very accepted around the neighborhood as vets and stuff. So it kind of got hidden. And I did have a bumper sticker on my car that said, you know, there used to be an organization, Another Mother for Peace. If you remember those. So I had a bumper sticker that said, Another Veteran for Peace. So, you know, so that was, 2 years wasted. Almost.
But thank you. Thank you.